Hey folks, and welcome to the Hypnotic Symposium for the 9th of June 2021. Today we're going to look at Bitcoin. Okay, so the big question is, where is Bitcoin going to go to? We've seen a huge increase in bearish positions, or people just selling their Bitcoins at the all-time highs due to some news out of, I think, China, and some high-profile individuals making some tweets, making people feel perhaps a little bit insecure about their crypto assets. And so we've seen a huge move out of Bitcoin and into something more stable like the USDT or the USDC. But the question is, where do you buy back your Bitcoin? And we've seen this as a top for quite some time, and we actually saw this as a top just here. The histogram was showing us that we had prices moving higher, but we had the asset strength printing lower peaks, and so this is a very clear sign that we should indeed be looking to sell. And we were starting to get these alarms at around this peak, and then price rallied, we accumulated, we pulled back a slingshot, then we rallied higher. And this was essentially where we printed this this lower peak in the asset strength histogram, and we got our little dot which is showing us some divergence, negative divergence. Then the markets really sold off in a pretty blood-shedding, brutal manner. And this was a nice area here. We had this area tested, something in here, there was some supply in here that was tested several times. This area removed it. Our price moved higher. So we had the buy zone established as here. Price distributed on that area, so we tested it a couple of times. We went on it, and when price kind of gaps down like that and just sits on the area like that, if you were looking at this on like a 4-hour chart, you'd start to see these spinning tops and an assumption that this would continue higher. But you never know what's going to happen until it's happened. And here, price decided to move lower. We revisited the lows here, which is a slingshot just here. So the slingshot was pulled back, and this high was taken out from the lows of this. So the price went higher. We tested this area several times. The slingshot was pulled back, and then we left. So this was the area that the price returned to. We had a huge rejection. Price closed above this daily demand, and now it's kind of just drifting lower, not really knowing what it's doing. So if we kind of have a macro view of this, so we'll go to the weekly chart and we'll see what happens. There is still some demand much lower that is still untested. So we do have price imbalance that needs to rebalance. And if we have a look here, we've got this here. It's tested once, price failed, twice failed. The slingshot was pulled back, and then we went through it. So we actually have something down here which we can't really see very clearly on this time frame, but the low here is essentially where price, this huge move originated from. Price went higher, this peak was taken out by this move, the slingshot was pulled back to here. So I think that around the $10,000 mark would be an interesting price point should price come that far lower. And I think people who miss this move, I think they're asking themselves a question, well, where can I buy Bitcoin? And so this would be a pretty interesting spot. Additionally, we do have a continuation pattern just at the peak here. So price rallied, we moved sideways, we started to print these candles that are telling us that we are accumulating orders, or we're accumulating positions to move price higher. And we moved above the previous peak from this price point here. Okay, so we had a rally, we had a week of accumulation, and then a couple of weeks gapping higher. We closed the gap on this one, and we left higher, so the slingshot was pulled back. Okay, so this would lead us to believe that price would return to these price points here, which it did, but this one is yet to be rebound. So I think the 19,500 area-ish is also an interesting price point. And of course, just the resistance becomes support level of about the same price. But we also, anywhere anywhere in here is an interesting price point. I would obviously go for the lower price. It's more attractive. This is also a nice area because this is the one that caused the consumption of this micro supply. How price went up, slingshot was pulled back, then we went lower, removing this area of demand here. Okay, price tested it here and here, slingshot was pulled back, and then we went higher, accumulated, and then we popped north. So there are some interesting levels much lower. Okay, let's have a look on a smaller time frame to see what we can spot. Well, here we have the high that was formed, the slingshot was pulled back, went higher, so let's mark off that one. And it's kind of an ugly one when this is a CFD chart of Bitcoin, so we have these weekend gaps which are quite ugly. Slingshot tested, so now price is it's looking bearish. Okay, we managed to, let's have a look on the 4 hours so we can see the details. Okay, so we have this in here. It was tested. We have micro something or other in here which you can't see on this time frame, which was tested a couple of times, once, twice. What area did it? This one did, but let's go to the hourly chart to see if we can see what that area looks like. So there's nothing here. Probably a 15-minute or a 5-minute, I'm thinking. Okay, now you can start to see it, maybe the 5-minute chart, if I have that data. Okay, here it is. It's right here. So this is where the area is located, around there, more or less. Here's the buy zone, right where price is this minute. So let's see where we are. So we tested that buy zone, the price went up. Where are we relative to it now? We're coming to bleeding edge price. I'm just going to get out of here, it's too small, I can't see the details. Okay, here. So, okay, this is it. Sorry, I changed color, I couldn't find it. So this is where the buy zone is, just here. Actually, that's for this one. The buy zone is essentially at this area here. So this one is gone. Okay, you can see here, moving all the way back, that this one has been removed. So the area that removed this, if you look at this for a second, you say, okay, where's the origin of the price move that moved through this and caused price to trade? Let's use this line. It's here. Okay, so this is where the slingshot was pulled back, bringing this to our attention right here. Okay, so this is the one that caused price to break through. Okay, tested here, price came down, and now we're looking to do the same thing, just in the opposite direction. So it looks like we're forming a base. We also have upward sloping trend line. We're in negative territory according to the histogram. So we've tested this once, a little bit deeper the second time, so the plate of pancakes is getting smaller, and so this is telling us that the thin side of the market on the smaller time frames is to the upside. Okay, we had this area of demand. This is responsible for moving above these highs. Micro supply in here. It was tested, price came back. We rallied, we formed this base. We rallied now for 2 hours. Now we're having a difficult time moving through the upper end of this, because you must realize that this is the beginning of the sell zone, or the high is here, and prices above that are attractive, and when you move beyond that, then we have very attractive prices. Okay, so price is having a bit of a difficult time moving beyond that, and so we have a nice close, some trading above the high of this box. Well, then there's one thing to do shorter term, and that is to get involved somewhere around here, because this is essentially where the move that moved through this originated from. Okay, so this is an interesting area, also a nice pattern. We had 1, 2, we had 3, 4 hours of accumulation, so that's not too much. We're also reaching negative territory, which is typically where these cycles end. If we have a look at those, here we didn't quite get there, but we had, relative to the previous bars in the histogram, we had a high. Okay, this is where we turn. We had a low. This is where we turn. So we're seeing this on a pretty regular basis. If I go back here, you can see this is where we turned here. We had some peaks here, and so it's a very interesting tool to consider when trading liquidity distribution patterns like we can see. So this is an interesting area. So let me put a label on there so you can see the price window. Okay, so the 33,000 on the money. And where is the buy zone? Well, the buy zone is the low of the candle that left, which is just here. So it looks something like that. Okay, that's probably 33,000 or 32,900 something. Let's let it load. 32,917. Okay, so that's a pretty good area. We do have some resistance, which comes support, so we might have not move beyond the highs here, but we'll have to wait and see. But this is an interesting place to take some intraday longs. And where would we get out of this position if it were to work out for us? Well, if we have a look, I can see this one right now. I like this one here. I don't like this one very much because this is a lot of price movement within an area, and when price moves around in an area for an extended period of time, so if we have a price window here, and price comes in and it goes up and down, as price continues to move up and down like this, well then the amount of liquidity available in that area goes down. And so this is not an interesting place to get involved. Okay, this, if you looked at this, we have a parent-child relationship. This is the parent, okay, because this is the origin of the move that moved below these lows. So the slingshot was pulled back here, so I would certainly take the highest slingshot to this area prior to price moving away, but I would prefer this one here at the 37,728. That's a much better price. Okay, so a couple of things to look at there, and I'm going to leave it at that. If you have any questions, let me know, and otherwise have a lovely day. Thanks for watching.